You know.
We laughing at you, Azar. If you don't know.
Yeah, we all laughing at you.
Nigga. Anyway, it says, in respect to persons accused of a crime that we just read, they was making up accusations that they could not prove.
Right.
It was the ordinary rule, and they were not to be committed to prison while waiting their trial. The Apostle Paul was waiting his trial. If they could find bail for their appearance. Now, why did we say bail for their appearance? Acts 24th chapter, when you go to 23rd chapter, right?
23rd verse.
The 24th chapter and the 23rd verse, it says, well, first let's go right here where it says, awaiting their trial. It says, they were not committed to prison while waiting their trial. So the Apostle Paul was waiting his trial because he was accused of a crime.
Right.
And if someone accused of a crime, they wasn't supposed to be committed to prison if they was waiting for their trial. If they could find bail. Now when you go to the book of Acts 24th chapter and 23rd verse, it says, and he commanded, who's the he? Felix, a centurion, to keep Paul and let him have liberty, that he should forbid none of his acquaintance to minister or come unto him. Why did he read that? So when you go to this webpage here, make it a little bigger so your brothers can read it. When you go right here, I'll stop him right here. It says, as J.B. Lightfoot points out, page 7, the degree of restraint put upon a prisoner was determined by various considerations. So the degree of restraint, or the degree of a person being in custody, it was determined by various considerations. The nature of the charge put against them, what Paul had charged put against them, the rank and reputation of the accused, once again, the degree of guilt presumed against them. Those prisoners who were deemed worthy of lenient treatment, or the prisoners who was deemed worthy of liberty, right, were handed over to their friends, or was in the presence of their acquaintance, right, who were willing to become surety, which surety is like paying of a debt for a person, surety or bail for the prisoner and guarantee his appearance at trial. You understand? So it said the prisoners who was accused of a crime, if they was deemed worthy of that lenient treatment or deemed worthy of the liberty that Felix had given to Paul, they was handed over to their friends or handed over to their acquaintances who came unto him, if those acquaintances were willing to become surety or payment of a debt or of a bail for his appearance at trial. That's why when you read further down in the Acts 24th chapter, what did Felix say? We didn't read this. It says he hoped that some money should be given him of Paul that he might loose him, like bail.
Right.
Like bail. So Paul's friends could have been brought to him to see if they could get some kind of bail money.
Yeah.
Because say he was locked up in there. You know?
Yeah.
Felix said he wanted he hoped that money could be given to him to loose him. That's history, man.
Yeah.
So what the fuck is Izar talking about? And these black conscious niggas talking about? That's history right there. So somebody who was accused of a crime, the way the Apostle Paul was accused, somebody was accused of a crime as Paul was accused of a crime, and they were waiting for their trial as Paul was waiting for their trial, they wasn't supposed to be committed unto a prison if they could find bail. So he said, you know what? I'm gonna let him have this liberty, or I'm gonna grant him this. I'm gonna let him have this. Let me go up. I'm gonna let him have this. Let me go down a little bit. So he said, I'm gonna let him have this liberty, or I'm gonna give him this lenient treatment, and hand him over to his acquaintance, or let his acquaintance come into him, or hand it over to his friends who are willing to become surety or payment of a debt, which could be a bail of a person who was accused of a crime, to assure his appearance at his trial. That's why when you read further down in Acts 24th chapter, it said that he hoped that money was given him a Paul that he might loose him. Wherefore he sent him for the oftener and commune with him. You understand? So you understand that, right?
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. Spell with that word often to.
Yeah, I was just about to ask, but I didn't want
to get into that.
Interrupt.
Yeah, you got something to say, It says, I don't really give you much information. This says thick, dense, compact, in reference to time, frequently, often, recurring, vigorously, diligently, often, more frequently, the often to. So it said delivered him the often to. or more diligently, or more recurring or often. Wherefore he sent the often to or diligently and commune with him. So that's that. But now we gotta get deeper into it now. Now we gotta get into why was it that the apostle Paul had the soldier with him. So now you understand Paul was in custody. But why was it that the apostle Paul had a soldier with him? What was the reason for that? Well, let's see. You can go to this next document, right? You went here. You go here. I don't want to get there yet. Let's go to matter of fact, I got Shorty right here. Shorty, it says one who has become liable for a debt for the debt, default, or failure in duty of another. So they could have hoped Paul made bail, and Paul was a failure of making that bail in that aspect. So he said, you know what? See if his friends can do it. They can't. Well, damn, we'll lock him up till they find that bail. You know?
Right.
It makes sense. Now the scriptures don't say anything about bail, but when you go into the historical aspect of that particular situation, that could have been a very important. That could have been the very reason why.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was granted that liberty. You know? So basically, he was given like a more lenient. Basically, he wasn't in the type of prison he was in when he was with Silas, when they was locked in the stocks and all of that.
Yeah.
You know? So now, let's go to let's read on here. It says, but for open and flagrant crimes, the triumvirate, capitalis, imprisoned offenders at once. Now you may say, wait a minute, Paul was bound from the beginning. It said Paul was bound. You didn't contradict your whole self. It said that in Acts 21st chapter. But wait a minute. It says in cases of crimes committed against the state, persons of rank were put under surveillance in their own houses, or in the house of a magistrate, or form of restraint termed Liberia Custodia. We will get into that in other ones too. A prisoner committed to the custody of a guard or soldier was said to be subject to militaris custodia. Only provincials and slaves could be lawfully put in chains when under arrest. Remember, the apostle was put in chains. What the apostle Paul, he was put in chains when he was under arrest, right?
Yeah, and the word
go ahead.
The word provincial, that means inhabitant of a province.
Exactly.
Then now it said he was from the province of Cilicia.
And not only that, but where they grabbed him up, they grabbed him up in Jerusalem. So they didn't know he was a Roman citizen at first, but they still grabbed him up and had him bound in chains. Right. Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can find provincial. I'm just gonna read it right here. It says, an inhabitant of regions outside the capital of a country, especially when regarded as unsophisticated and narrow-minded. When they first grabbed Paul up, he was in Jerusalem. They had him bound in chains. You know? So a provincial, as they considered Paul before they knew he was a Roman. Remember, they about to scourge him. They didn't know he was a Roman. They didn't know he was a Roman yet. So they grabbed him up in Jerusalem, not knowing he was a Roman. Not knowing he had them rights as a Roman citizen. That's why it says Lysias was scared. Remember how he was like, damn, I didn't know he was a Roman.
Yeah.
You know? Only if provincials and slaves could be lawfully put in chains or under arrest. Now, let's go here. Because it said custodia, right? In fact, here you go right here. It says the former type of confinement described above was known as custodia libera. The latter was called custodia militaris. This would be custodia militaris. Prisoners who were considered too dangerous or too trustworthy to be dealt with by the lenient form of captivity were thrown into prison and loaded down with chains. Wait a minute. You just say he was given that leniency before when his acquaintance came on to him. You contradict yourself. No, he didn't. Because let's go deeper into it. Let's go in, because it was a mixture of custodia libera, whereas he was under surveillance, but then again, it was a mixture of custodia militaris. Now let's go right here. Let's see what this is right here. All right, something else. This is I found the Spirit had us find this thing. It says word studies in the New Testament, right? You go to the prisoner. It says Paul, as a Roman citizen, was held in custodia militaris. Military custody. 3 kinds of custody were recognized by the Roman law. Custodia publica, confinement in the public jail. This was the worst kind. The common jails being wretched dungeons. That's why when you go to Acts 16 verse 24 to 25, it said what? Who having seen such a charge thrust them into the prison and made their feet fast in the stocks. And at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and said praises unto the Most High, and the prisoners heard them. So there was other people locked up. They was in a public jail. So they had stripes laid upon them. They was held. Their feet was held in stocks. You know, it was like a dungeon.
Yeah. So that would be custodia publica.
That would be custodia publica. Public custody. That's what it said. The prisoners heard him, so other people was there.
Right.
You know? So they wasn't in PC. They wasn't in protective custody, man. They was in population, so to speak.
Hey, you said it could have been dungeons. Look what it said right there. It says this was the worst kind, the common jails being wretched dungeons.
Yep. Now, custodia libera, free custody. It says, confined to men of high rank, the accused was committed to the charge of a magistrate or senator who became responsible for his appearance on the day of trial. He wasn't a high rank though, but we gonna break that down. Custodia militaris, because that's what they would say. Custodia militaris, military custody. The accused was placed in charge of a soldier who was responsible with his life for the prisoner's safekeeping, and whose left hand was secured by a chain to the prisoner's right. The prisoner was usually kept in the barracks, but was sometimes allowed to reside in a private house under charge of his guard. So he was in a private house, his own hired house, his own lodging, his dwelling with that soldier, as you read in the book of Acts 28th chapter. Now we gotta go to Acts 28th chapter, and we gotta explain that again. When you jump up, right? When you jump up to the 16th verse, it tells you Paul was suffered to dwell by himself with the soldier that kept him. Why did the soldier keep him where Paul was dwelling at? Because he was under custodia militaris. He was in charge of a soldier who was responsible with his life for the prisoner's safekeeping, and his left hand was secured by a chain to the prisoner's right. The prisoner was usually kept in the barracks, but was sometimes allowed to reside in a private house under charge of his guard. So Paul was under custodia militaris, but it was still kind of a mixture of custodia libera, because you go to custodia libera, you read here on this page, the memory of St. Paul. You read here, it says, once he arrived in Rome about the middle of the year 61, Paul was permitted to live in a private house with one soldier to guard him. The scripture bear witness to that. It bear witness to custodia militaris. Roman citizens had the right to this type of punishment, imprisonment, as the Apostle Paul was. This ain't the Apostle Paul, it's some fucking cracker.
Yeah.
Known as custodia militaris, military custody, halfway between custodia libera, supervised freedom, and custodia publica, or penal detention. So it was a mixture. It was really a mixture between these two. It wasn't really custodia publica because he was in his own higher house.
Right.
He was in the public prison. That's why I said custodia publica, public custody. Now you understand? It was custodia militaris, military custody, halfway between custodia libera, which is supervised freedom. Because why did they say supervised freedom? When you go here, see if I can find it. When you go here, it says there's another web page that I got up. See if I can find it. Nope, that ain't it. Give me 1 second. See if I can find it real quick.
Right, so
Go ahead.
we're explaining why, once again, Paul was in this situation of being in this private house, because due to Roman law, custodia.
Yep, militaris.
Militaris.
Here you go. Yeah, Salak. It was further in the same document.
Okay.
It says the prisoner could choose his own place of residence. Paul was in his own hired house.
He could choose. It says choose.
These niggas is stupid, man.
And that's liberty in itself.
Yeah, that's liberty in itself.
You get to choose where you want it to.
That's custodia libera, supervised freedom.
Yeah.
The fuck, yo? This is getting me mad, man.
Yeah.
You speaking things you know not of.
Yeah.
The prisoner could choose his own place of residence, and the soldier who guarded him had to stay with him all the time and put a chain on his hand whenever he went out of the house. So it says, according to ancient tradition, St. Paul lived in a high house near the Great Bend. They don't say none of this is written here, so I ain't even gonna read that. None of this say that this word in here in the scriptures. I don't recall it in my mind. Let me turn to it real quick because I could be wrong. Nah, I don't see it there. Around about the last ending of the chapter. But because it says according to ancient tradition. Well, if ain't in the scriptures,
Yeah.
So it says the prisoner could choose his own place of residence, and the soldier who guarded him had to stay with him all the time and put a chain on and put him on a chain whenever he went out of the house. So he was in a mixture of custodia militaris, military custody. That's why when you go to Acts 28th chapter, it was a soldier that kept him, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a soldier that kept him. Okay, you go there. It was a soldier that kept him, and it says halfway between custodia libera, supervised freedom. Because why? He could choose his own place of residence. In other words, the Apostle Paul could choose to be where? 30th verse. Read that.
All right, the 30th verse. And Paul dwelt 2 whole years in his own hired house.
In his own hired house. Why the fuck was he in his own hired house, Izar? You unlearned nigga. Why was he in his own hired house, man? We just gave you the answer. You wasn't paying attention? He was on hired house because he could choose his own place of residence. And the soldier who guarded him had to stay with him all the time and put a chain on whenever he and put him on the chain whenever he went out of the house. What chain? The chain and whose left hand was secured by a chain to the prisoner's right. So Paul had to have a chain on his right hand and a chain on the prisoner's hand whenever Paul left out the house, man. He was in the supervised freedom, so to speak. Right. He was in the custodial light bearer with a mixture between custodial militaris. He was in his own higher house where he could choose to be at, and if he ever left out the house, he had to have a chain on him. In other words, Paul was on house arrest, man. Yeah. He couldn't go nowhere of his own free will. He was still awaiting trial. The book of Acts didn't end. The book of Acts left with a cliffhanger, so to speak, man. You know, you watch a show and you see a guy falling off a mountain, but you don't know if he's gonna hit the ground yet or if a so-called superhero gonna fly and grab him. Yeah. It's a cliffhanger. You don't know. That's why when you watch a movie, it don't tell you watch a movie. Like when you watch remember Child's Play Part 2? Yeah. And, you know, the first thing that came to mind. Yeah. Like so-called Child's Play Part 2. After he was destroyed in the factory and all that, at the end they showed the new so-called Chucky doll being remade. Yeah. That's like a cliffhanger. Oh, shit's gonna be a part 3. Uh-oh.
Or to put it into law, like Law and Order, it might be a episode that got to continue. And we now find the verdict and has a dramatic song, and then it says to be continued, and now you're waiting for that episode in the next season.
Exactly. It was the book of Acts left with a cliffhanger, man. Yeah. It left with a cliffhanger. It didn't tell you nothing about when he went before season. It left with a cliffhanger. He was like on a house arrest, man. Why? So when you read the scriptures, the so-called scholars, they have things called prison epistles. Certain stuff he wrote while he was locked up. Certain stuff he wrote while he was in confinement, man. The fuck, yo? You niggas need to, you niggas need to stop. Yo, man, go ahead, niggas get me mad now.
Because back in the ancient time, they didn't have
a bracelet to put on your leg.
And then when you go certain acres from your house, it rings. Okay?
Yeah. So, you know, we basically broke the whole thing down. Oh, matter of fact, let's go right here. Okay. This is another web page. You know, matter of fact, let me go up on every web page. Well, basically, if your brother could see up here, you could know what to go to. I'm basically go to the beginning so you can know, you know. And there's certain things you just run into, man. I wasn't even reading none of this stuff. Yeah. I just typed in certain things. To be honest, I found this information about mistake.
Yeah, Spirit.
Spirit, how about you shot? Spirit like a win, yo. Yeah. It just had me run into the information. I didn't look on these websites. Let me go to this, that, and third. I wasn't doing none of that. The Spirit just had me find it. Had us find it through the Spirit. You know? Right. When you go, it says in alphabetical analysis, it says according to Septimus Bus, there were 3 kinds of custody under Roman law, which that goes right and back to this web page here. It says I think it said 3 kinds. Yeah, 3 kinds of custody were recognized by Roman law. So it says custodia publica when the prisoner was committed to Gaul, Goal. Let me copy and paste that. See what that say. That means, as in the case of Paul and Silas at Philippi, custodia libera when the accused was placed under surveillance either in his own house, like Paul, or in the house of a magistrate who became sponsor for his production in court on the day of trial and gave a legal promise for that purpose. The Apostle Paul was still awaiting trial. Yeah. Custodia militaris when the accused was given a charge to a guard of soldiers. He was given a charge unto a soldier in his own house. So it was like custodia militaris mixed with custodia libera, as you read in the last webpage.
Yeah, in other words, he's under custody of 2 Roman laws. You know, because it said like halfway.
Like halfway, yeah. Yep. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
It says goal, variant spelling of jail. So with that, we're going to close. We're going to say all praise to Yahweh Shem Shah. Yep. Double honors to the elders of GMS. Go ahead, bro. You got something to say?
Yes. Just to say one thing. That's Paul's excuse of teaching in his house for 2 years. What is yours?
What is yours, nigga?
What is yours? You're not in house arrest unless you committed something.
Nah, because he made a video in the car.
Oh, okay.
He made a video in the car, so, you know? Yeah. And now the name of the Lord is removed from you, nigga. You write comments on videos talking about something we're using the pronunciation wrong and shit.
Oh, man, this dude is gone.
I'm gonna fucking kill you, man.
That's right.
So with that, All praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Double honors to the elders of GMS. And shalom to the brothers pushing the truth and sincerity, man.
Shalom to all the Akim.
And one more thing, Izar, if you're saying that we're pronouncing the Hebrew wrong, then what's the name of the Most High and His Son? That means you're pronouncing Yahweh and Yahweh Shai wrong.
But I thought you learned it from Nate.
Yeah. Not only that, he ain't say Yahweh Shai in his last couple videos. So I'm gonna say it once again. All praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Double honors to the elders of GMS.
Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone.
Shalom to the brothers pushing truth and sincerity. And with that, we're gonna say Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom.